Hello and welcome to the Performance Centre here at Howley Hall Golf Club in Leeds, where today I'm taking a look at the new ZX7 irons from Srixon. Hi there, I'm Ryan Rastall, PGA Professional here at Howley Hall Golf Club in Leeds, and as I've said, we've got the new ZX7 irons from Srixon to take a bit of a look at. But before we do that, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. You'll see loads more content from all of us here at Golfshake to help you play more and play better. So, the ZX7 iron. Well, some of you that have been regular viewers on the channel will see I got to test the ZX5 a couple of months ago. And ZX7 is a slightly more refined, smaller, kind of maybe better players kind of alternative to that. And when I did that review, I tested it against my own set of irons at the moment, and some of you commented about wanting to see it, see how these performed as well. So hopefully if you look back and have a bit of a look at that video, look at the sort of numbers, you can have a bit of a look at how they compare to these. These are a little bit more in your way of a traditional type of loft, whereas the ZX5 was a bit stronger and we were seeing quite a bit more yardage compared to the clubs I use myself, which I was expecting to. But these are that kind of more player's iron, if you like. So if we talk about the technology, well, it's a fully forged body, 1020 carbon steel, so we're expecting really soft feel in the club head here as well. So very similar features though to what we saw in ZX5 in the technology. So we've got the slightly more kind of torque cavity sort of design. Obviously it's a little bit smaller on this model. What Srixon call the VT sole, which is basically this V shape and the toe and heel notches as well, allowing the CG to be that little bit lower. It changes the way the club interacts with the ground as well. So probably makes it play slightly more bounce, I would say. So for that player who maybe wants that bit more interaction with the turf and maybe hits down on the ball a little bit more, it might help it go through the turf a little bit better. And certainly when I've talked to some guys who use these irons and Srixon irons with these soles, and some of them tour players, and they've said that they just love the way that they go through the turf, and that's why they kind of chose these irons as well. So I'm interested to not only test them here on the trackman, but also get out on the golf course and see how they perform, because I absolutely loved the ZX5. And as I said in that video, I've not really tried much Srixon stuff before, so I'm pretty excited to try these. And when I tried the ZX5 out on the course, I found that they went quite a long way. I found them very stable. They were just lovely to look at and hit, and I'm expecting the same from these, just in a slightly smaller package really. So a little bit more about the technology. I've got 5, 7 and 9 iron here, so we see quite a nice blend through the set. So we've got a progressive groove story in here as well. So when we look at the higher lofted clubs, so from wedge up to 8 iron, we've got more of like a V-shaped groove in here, which is obviously a little bit sharper, slightly narrower and deeper to help increase the spin that we're getting with those clubs. They're the sort of scoring clubs that we'd use as we get closer to the green. Now when we look at the longer clubs, so 7 iron up in these sets, they're more of like a U groove, so they're a bit wider, slightly more volume, so they're helping to kind of maintain the spin characteristics throughout the set. So those clubs, your 5, 4 iron for instance, aren't really ones that you're trying to get more spin on. That type of player who's going to suit these clubs generally is going to have probably higher club head speed and not really struggle to flight those longer clubs, and maybe needs to try and get some of the spin down. Certainly I know in the past when I've tried some clubs, when I get to sort of 5 iron, 4 iron, 3 iron, they kind of go quite similar distances because they just go so high and spin so much. So I'm hoping that these we're going to see a little bit more progression throughout the set. Yes, I've only got half a set here, but we should see quite a decent kind of mix and difference in there as well. So in the longer clubs, we've got like a multi-piece construction as well, and tungsten added in the toe there as well to really help move that CG and help to when we don't hit the middle of the face, to give you a bit more forgiveness as well. But on first looks, I think they look fantastic, and certainly when I've tested the other Srixon irons, the ZX5 before, I just love the way they look behind the ball, and these to me are even nicer because they're a little bit smaller and kind of a bit more what I'm used to in terms of the look. So let's stop talking, let's go hit some shots on the trackman and see what kind of distances and performance we're getting with these. and then hopefully we'll get out on the golf course, put them to the test again, and see exactly how they do out there too. So come on. So when we take a bit of a look at the results that we're getting with ZX7, so let's start with 9 iron. So averaging 143 carry, 147 total, so just short of the 150 mark, which is pretty much how I would gauge a 9 iron. Anyway, it's perhaps a couple of yards longer, but it's pretty similar really. 7 iron, again 173. I always sort of 175 is kind of where I club myself for a 7 iron, you know, in normal conditions. But when we move on to 5 iron, I mean, with mine, I would kind of 5 iron for me is 200 yards, and we can see that we're getting on average quite a bit more than that. It's nearly 20 yards longer. Now, I think that might be to do with the groove pattern, you know, like I was saying before, I always find at that end of the set, because of the club head speed and I do hit the ball fairly high generally, the clubs kind of sometimes bunch up a little bit, and obviously we can see here that the distances are fairly nice and incremental. I mean, what I would say from that is, you know, if we're going from 180 to sort of 220, and we've only got 1 iron in between those two clubs, that's potentially quite a big gap, isn't it, really? So we may have to look at, you know, lofting the set slightly differently to get that going. You know, I may have just absolutely nailed a couple of the shots here. So what I've basically done is hit about 10 or 15 shots with each iron, and then gone back into it and hit 3 what I'd class as half decent shots, and the ones that I hit with a 5 iron, I did nail 2 out of the 3 that I hit. So potentially that gap is maybe a little bit bigger than it would have been, but certainly it feels like it's coming off the face really quick, and we can see that the distance is right out there. I would say, looking at them behind the ball, they look awesome, and they actually they don't look really small and bladed and unforgiving. They actually look really nice, I think, behind the ball, and kind of give you a bit of confidence. The lofts do look a little bit strong, I must say. The 9 iron looked more like my 8, and the 5 looked more like my 4, to be honest. 7 iron, I didn't really see that, but yeah, I mean, looks wise, I just think they look great. They look very similar to the ZX5 when I tested them, but just that little bit more compact, which is exactly what they are. But yeah, when we're looking at the, you know, the distances, the ball flight, it's good, and the distances are good, if not slightly stronger than what I'd be used to, but then the lofts are ever so slightly stronger than what I'm used to, so I would expect that a little bit. But I'm really impressed with how the 5 iron hasn't just kind of spun and stalled on me, because that's what tends to happen when I hit longer clubs, is that they tend to bunch up a little bit because of the spin and club head speed, etc., and the height, because I hit the ball quite high. So it's good to see that they're kind of stretching out the yardages there. Now, the 5 iron in this set is only 1 degree weaker than the 4 iron that I use, so it's kind of similar distance to what I would expect with the 4 iron anyway. Maybe a touch longer actually, to be honest, but only a couple of yards. But yeah, it'd be good to get out on the golf course and test it and see exactly the sort of distances that I can hit them out there as well. So yeah, let's get out there, let's have a bit of a look, and hopefully they perform just as well out there as they did in here. So I've just made it out here onto the golf course, and as you can see, the conditions are far from ideal. It's blooming freezing, there's snow about, but I wanted to test these irons outside, and particularly the 5 iron, which we saw unbelievably good numbers with inside on the trackman. I'm going to test it out here on the golf course and see if we can get anywhere near that. Now, I wouldn't expect to because of the temperature and the conditions, But let's see, you know, I'll try and find a shot around that 210 yard mark. I'll hit 2 or 3 shots towards the green and we'll see how close we get. We've hit quite a few shots out here on the golf course with ZX7 iron, and I'm just as impressed with them as I was with ZX5 when I tried them. Yes, I prefer the look of these. Do they go as far as ZX5? No, but they're not supposed to. They're a bit weaker lofted, much smaller, more compact club head. But I love the feel of them. I honestly think Srixon makes some of the best irons out there, and these are the only 2 sets I've ever tried. But the ZX7 will really appeal more to that kind of better ball striker, lower handicap golfer, but someone who still wants that little bit of forgiveness, and the distance is very good too. So like I say, I've whilst it's not been ideal out here testing them today, it's been a slightly difficult one obviously because of the conditions. You can see it, the distances I'm hitting them are good, the ball flights are nice, and I'm going to do a bit of a test now from a bit of a longer yardage with that 5 iron just to see how it goes as well. But yeah, they feel fantastic. So we're on the 15th hole here at Howley Hall, and it's a long par 4 anyway, made a hell of a lot longer by the conditions. Now we've got 218 yards to the centre of the green behind me. I'm going to try and hit this ZX7 5 iron that we hit inside and got such great numbers with, and see if I can get anywhere close to this green. Now obviously in the conditions, I can't remember whether it said it was -1 or 0, but it's certainly not conducive to hitting the ball a long way. But we're going to try anyway. I'm going to hit 2 or 3 shots now from here, see if I can get them anywhere near this green. Obviously put the traces on there you can have a look at too, and give you a bit of feedback after I've done it. So fingers crossed I don't thin any and shatter my fingers. So let's see where these go. So just getting down here now to see where these 3 5 iron shots have gone. Now the first and third one, I don't know if you can tell by the video, but with a bit of a push, they've kind of drawn back on towards the green a little bit, but not great strikes either. So they both ended up a little bit short and right, as you can see here, one just in the snow and the other one just short of the bunker. But the second one, which you'll see with the tracer on there, much better shot, much better flight, and I didn't think I'd even get anywhere near this green. But you can see it's just trickled onto the front there. So we had 218 to the middle. This has probably gone, I don't know, 206, 207 really, in obviously very, very cold, icy conditions. And it's not running very far. It's probably, I can see it's just a bit short of the green and ran probably about 6 feet onto it. So distance-wise, pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting to get anywhere near this. I mean, these 2 that I've not really struck very well, I thought would probably be 20 yards shorter than they are. They've done really well to get to there. So like I say, I've been out on the course now, I've hit quite a lot of shots with these irons and very, very impressed with them. I think the forgiveness is great from such a small, compact looking golf club as well, which is fantastic. And they're certainly irons that I would recommend if you're that maybe slightly lower handicapper that wants something that looks great but also has a bit of forgiveness in it as well. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you appreciate the lengths I've gone to try and show you how they perform out here as well, because it's been less than ideal. But yeah, we have to do these things from time to time. We can't all play golf in bright sunshine all the time, so we have to test them out here in these conditions as well. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you and hopefully answer all of them as we can. If you've got any questions about custom fitting as well, please pop them in there too. And if you want to see any comparisons between different irons, then please let us know as well. And yeah, we've got lots more stuff coming in the next few weeks and loads more new equipment coming out, so stay tuned and keep watching all of the content that we've got here on Golfshake, and I'll see you all very, very soon.